Epilim. Mm. With GP prescribed carpet fluff.
Hello, everyone. Let's bring up the chat. Hello, everyone.
Mm.
We are here. Your lass nearly got burnt to a crisp because furry yellow orb. Praise be, Flow Snake in the chat. Hi, snaky friend.
Hi, Flow Snake. Flow Snake very devotedly showed up to Screen Cleaner, left loads of comments which helped the algorithm and give me some much needed banter and ego boost. So thank you for that. Praise be.
Oh, my niblet is currently busy. I have tasked them. They are downloading all of Sunny, and it will be waiting for me up at my mum's. Thank you, my darling. I will get back to you on my experience of watching It's Only Sunny.
Mm.
Why the map pins and the red string? Or well, why the map tacks and the red string? Was he on a bender or something? That meme that you got, It's Always Sunny.
Oh,
Or will
yeah,
you
you'll
leave it?
get there. No spoilers from me, woman. You'll get there and you'll enjoy it very much. Yeah.
I've seen that meme so many fucking times, and I have no context for it. So
One of the comments I hear a lot from people watching Sunny for the first time is, "Oh, that's where that meme came from," and like from loads of different scenes. I mean,
yeah.
the show is like a
Oh no,
meme
no, no, no. I
mine.
I'm the only one. Even my 10-year-old niece has seen Sunny before me, and
I
she's
I
younger
dropped
than Sunny.
I dropped a DM to one of our video dealers to get hold of Always Sunny and The Wire for you, so you will have multiple options. So
Oh no,
yeah.
that's the one that I am most waiting for to watch is actually The Wire. Then Sunny a close second, and a couple of other like Star Trek and Star Wars TV series, not the movies. I've seen all the movies. I haven't seen
The
this.
Wire is a hard watch on occasion. It will literally rip your heart out, chew it up, spit it back at you, but it's absolutely a journey worth doing. Yeah,
Cool, cool.
just gonna derobe a moment. Speaking of derobing, if you enjoyed my trolling of Robert Jenrick tonight on Screen Cleaner, there's going to be some partial nudity next week as I confront another Reform MP on the phone. If you love Jenrick, you're going to love next week's. Ah, there we go. Bare arms. No, not in the bad way.
What's that on your t-shirt?
So this is, I'm not sure, but this t-shirt came from a site called gofasterstripe.com. And what it is a subscription service to a lot of alternative British and some foreign comedians with a particular sort of curatorship about them. So Mark Thomas, Mark Steele, Stuart Lee, Alexi Seal, Joe Lycett, the sort of people you probably really like.
Yeah.
I think it was about £4 or £5 a month. And after you've been a member of a year for a year, so you get when you enter, you get like two free digital downloads, and then a bunch of like one video a month that is maybe exclusive, but that's all included in your membership package. After you've been a member for a year, they just send you a T-shirt, and this is what I got. It has no branding on it. It's just a bit odd and a bit cool.
Cool.
So I think that's gofasterstripe.com, I think it's called.
There you go.
Um, yeah. So tonight we are, I'm tired. Um, we're going to be looking at Oscar Wilde and um, more towards the sort of political, legal end of Oscar Wilde's end and the British and Irish parliamentary politics and civil politics that were in play there. So there's good parts of this story that
Oh,
are sad. I don't know if
damn.
Toby could stick it out.
I knew I forgot to do something. I was meant to upload a, a photo. I was just going to take a photo of it. I've literally stood outside his house in Dublin when I went over for a weekend with Super Hubby many years ago, and with and him on his plinth or his rock plinth just outside his house where he grew up. I missed that. I loved that weekend so much. I loved it. It was great. So I've been outside where Oscar Wilde grew up, or where he was lived for a while.
He was a very iconic looking figure. I mean, it's no surprise really that the chief focus of his work was aesthetics of beauty and taste, and um,
Yeah.
there's a very visual quality to his words. I was in maybe 2014 in Enniskillen in County Fermanagh, which is Ireland's Northern Ireland's Lake District, and they had a sort of week long festival of Wilde. So I got to go to a few talks and adjacent Wilde adjacent thing. Um, I think that might be the weekend that, for no reason I can trace back to Wilde, that I got to see a live feed audience with Ralph Steadman, Hunter S. Thompson's cartoonist. I'm not quite sure how it linked back to Wilde, but it was pretty awesome. Well, the most memorable was a theatrical performance of the Ballad of Reading Gaol. So the theatre company that put this on they focus their works on being very site specific. So they held this performance of the poem, the ballad of long form poem, in like an old
Oh,
house with
yeah.
mattresses on the floor where everybody had to lie down on a mattress, and the poem was piped through speakers. It was a very, very atmospheric kind of thing. It was darkened, and there were jailhouse noises. It was a great performance, and I got to go out for a drink afterwards with the theatrical performers, and nice chat with them about their process. So, yeah. So, I hope you don't mind me saying, Katie, you're not in top form tonight. So, I'm thinking, if it's not working out for you after time, like f off to bed.
Oh no, it's not that. I'm just no. In fact, I'm fully awake and stuff and everything. It's just the just yeah. Much of a muchness, really.
How are
I'll be
your
fine. Don't.
how's your various breakages and stuff?
The feet are not swollen as much. It's amazing. I just need to get up and move around a bit more. So I was listening to music for most of the day. Once we got back from the farmers market, I I just kind of danced around the living room. I created a mosh pit of Katie, which is fun.
How you, Dan?
Dan, hello, comrade. Dan is on the other end of the M8. He's over in Edinburgh. Misunderstood you. Dan is over on the other end of the M8. Hello, Dan. Great to see you.
If there's anybody coming to this stream for the first time, hello. Totally welcome you in. This is going out in 5 places tonight. So Katie Marshall's YouTube and Twitch channels. My YouTube, my Facebook account now should be linked, so it's going public. And for the first time, it's going out to my LinkedIn community. I don't use this is probably more LinkedIn content than I've had in the 3 years previous. Katie and I do a regular weekly Saturday night live stream from UK time 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Sometimes that can be just various pop culture stuff and waffle. Sometimes we do Victorian villainy, histories with political corruption at their heart. That's what we're going to do tonight. We'll start this sort of first 10, 15 minutes is just blather to get set up, to let people come in. We'd be talking about Oscar Wilde and the political and legal challenges that greeted him towards the end of his life. I found my book, my great big complete works of Oscar Wilde, which, not my original copy. I had a copy of this in the 1990s. I was about 20 and I read about 400 pages of it, then lost my copy. And I found it in another shop in about 2019. So I've yet to pick it up and read the last 400 pages. Big tome. And if I remember from when I read it originally, goes back beautifully easy just because he was such an entertaining writer.
Reading about Oscar today, the aesthetes back in the day seem like a fascinating dive to go into, essentially. The aesthetes were well regarded in their day. They're still well regarded just now, but some of their stances or pronunciations, if you wish, were a little bit peculiar, I'll say. Not odd or weird or they used to be called avant-garde at times, because what you don't know, you fear. Just get educated, really. Read a book, or read several books all at once. Play to your strengths. I know what my strength is reading and
Oh, obviously not with a mark on it. Yeah, you can work it out. You've been on the internet. Yeah, he was very beautiful man. One can only imagine that his home, his various lodgings, the places he frequented were quite beautiful. I mean, my home's a a wreck. I've got a bottle of milk beside me in my studio. There's tissues on the floor, um, cigarette filters, fluff from my couch from where the gerbils ate it, and it's still leaking 2 years later. In case anybody thinks I'm exaggerating, look, actual sofa bits.
Maybe you should get rid of that sofa. Just saying.
Yeah, it might be, but I know that anything I see, I've got the one I've got in the living room is well, yeah, it is. It's bitten the fuck. But I know, like, if I get a new one in, the gerbils, or even like a second-hand one, the gerbils will just start eating that as well. So I'm inclined to live in filth, as Frank Reynolds would put it. Oh, you mean Frank Reynolds, Kitty? Yeah, it'll always funny. Yes, living in squalor and filth. That's good enough for me.
I don't live in squalor. I'm just surrounded by it. I live my life surrounded by things.
I suspect you're one of these people who's got shelves full of curated DVDs and graphic novels, maybe a few action figures. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Twigged. I have none of that. Well, I have a bookshelf.
Oh.
I literally blink. I own 17 DVDs. I own no action figures. The last action figure I had was a rubber Triceratops, which I used to try and scare the gerbils with when they were being naughty. And then, like, I left it in the pen with them to stop them jumping out. But I got back to the pen and I chewed the horn off, all the horns off it. No fear. I had to put it in the bin in case they swallowed a little bit.
Oh dear. Oh. Oh, good.
Orchestra.
I
did you could join us. Surrounded by books.
My darling, how are you doing? Hello, hello, hello. Everyone say hello to Orchestran. She is so close to me, it is unbelievable, and I still haven't got to her house. I will get there, darling. I promise you on that. Me and Orchestran are separated by a road or a street. It is street. I will not dox myself, and I will not dox my darling.
That's a dog. A dog chewing bills is a dog versus austerity. Don, that sucks. You're going through homelessness at the moment. I absolutely have been there. Reach out. Let us know where you are. And we'll see if we have any contacts in that area who can help, because having one or two more resources always is a help. Aki's. A special guest call from Aki's. Oh, and he's hung up on me now. Yeah. Okay.
Hi, Aki's. Bye, Aki's.
Flow Snake.
How is he doing? How is he doing anyway?
Oh, goodness knows. He's building stuff. He's in some kind of infinite Ragnarok type contract with his rebuilding his bathroom. And I think there's some kind of portal into infinity in there where he just will get lost in constantly. Aki's rebuilt his bathroom in the 25th century sort of stuff. Flow Snake writes, any tips on how to get rid of sofas when you can't deliver, Kitty? Try to give her old one away. Even the reused charities that turned up didn't want it. Sorry to go off on a tangent. That's okay. Flow Snake, we're all about tangents here. Get rid of sofas. My guess would be Free Cycle or the nearest equivalent. You could get somebody to help you dump it in the nearest public green under cover of darkness, and it could just become a hangout for
Naughty! Don't listen to Andy. Don't listen to him.
Hello, Akis. Akis, you're live on the live stream with Andy, Luke, and Kitty Marshall. How can we help you tonight? It's us. He's watching us. There's a 10-second delay though. Hello, Akis. Hi. How you doing? Is this call okay for broadcast or is it something quiet? I should mute. I'm just gonna mute a minute, Kitty. I'll find out what's going on.
No problem. Hello, everyone. Akis is delightful, by the way. I was lucky. They were meant to do this job in the first place. Once they fixed the flat, other than the floorboards, all the damp and mold and everything, and the reproofing got done, all good. We got a chair. We got a sofa, a 3-seater, just behind me. They are rather comfy. They are good. Then Super Hubby bought me this chair that I am currently sitting on. It is rather gorgeous and really comfy. It is mechanical. I have remotes. Oh, no. And remote over here that you can... Oh, it is a bit safe. Oh, no. In fact, let's put it on, shall we? Come back. Anyone in chat? Can you still hear me? Hi.
Well, that was a strange phone call. Hi, Akis, if you're still on camera. He's going to his bed in a moment. Akis would like to say, Katie, I love you, and Andrew's a twat, and Lewis is a lightweight.
I'll need to educate Akis the next time I see him then. Thank you, Akis. Much appreciated, but show respect, show love to your comrade, please. I beg of you.
Yeah.
You're amazing, Andrew, by the way.
Thank you, Kitty. It's nice to hear. Akis, that's the sort of shit gets you cancelled, mate. Akis may or may not appear in next week's Screen Cleaner. We'll see how he behaves himself during the week.
I will hold my breath.
So, Oscar Wilde. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, I wonder where do we start? Um, uh, so the politics of the day. Yeah, we'll go back to sort of Oscar Wilde. He's earning, I think, about £100 a week by the mid 1890s. He's a pop star. Right? He's doing really well for himself, and he's actually very discreet about his sexuality. And then he falls in with Bosie, who is Lord Alfred Douglas, Marquess of Queensberry's son. Um, and Bosie was much more given to sort of extravagance and like anything Wilde wanted or anything Bosie wanted, Wilde gave him because Wilde was so well off money wise. He sort of catered to
Yeah.
his every whim. Um, so Katie and I did a stream before this. I think our first stream together talking about Lulu Harcourt.
Yeah.
We touched on this. So in the 1890s, there were two major political factions in parliamentary power. There were the Harcourts and the Roseberys, and they were enemies. Rosebery was the prime minister, and Harcourt was one of his cabinet. And Harcourt and his son were constantly trying to tear Rosebery down. Now, Harcourt had some skeletons. This is Harcourt that Port Harcourt is named after. Um, Harcourt Jr. was a notorious paedophile. Absolutely preyed on public schoolboys. It was really ugly, ugly stuff. And word began to circulate around the London Westminster elite that he was preying on Eton College boys.
Can I pause you? Can I pause you a second, Andy? The prevailing thought of the day it was meant to be women, man, procreate, create a better society, have lots of families, have lots of children and things like that. But seedy undercurrent that ran throughout the Victorian era. They had these little dalliances or little proclivities that they indulged themselves in. Most of them were homosexuals, which was frowned upon. No. So they kept it hidden, and most of it was done by the upper echelons of society. And you can call them hypocrites because they fucking were. They were the ones making the laws, and they routinely broke them on a daily basis, essentially. So yes, just no.
Yeah,
good people.
Important context for that sort of normative binary kind of.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the use of the word tradition sounds a bit like it was yesterday, but tradition as in today, as in today then. So yeah, why? I'm going to read that comment out from Flo Snake. It seems that Queensberry didn't exactly play by Queensberry rules. Queensberry invented the boxing rules. Mark Thomas has a nice joke that follows that about Wilde's dalliance with Queensberry's son. That he loved the idea that Wilde could turn around, this effeminate Oscar Wilde could turn around the man who invented the rules of boxing and say, "I have it your son made."
I remember that one.
Augustran writes, "I think Wilde was entrapped almost and made an example of," and that's very much where we are. So the bit of the backstory that's not so widely reported. We all know about Queensberry's feud with Wilde and certain origins of that, but it actually goes deeper. It goes back to the Harcourts. Um, and there, um, so Lewis Harcourt was committing all these acts of pederasty, and because it was so in the cabinet, the Prime Minister, Lord Rosebery, couldn't move against him, and on those grounds, and as you say, because it was kind of accepted establishment, the Harcourts also couldn't move against the political rival, Lord Rosebery, on the grounds of his dalliances with young men. So Rosebery, Archibald Primrose Rosebery, was a gay man, and it was very covered up. His lover was quite young, and his lover was the Marquis of Queensberry's other son, Bosey's brother, and the affair ended. I think,
Percy, if I remember correctly, wasn't it Percy?
yeah, I think it might have been. The affair ended quite suddenly. That maybe 18 months they've been together, and it was either like while Rosebery hadn't been prime minister very long, or it just was just about to become prime minister. And the tragic outcome was that Percy went out into a field with a shotgun, and there was a hunting accident. And the popular um, belief is that was suicide after having been broken up with by Rosebery. Inevitably, Queensberry was enraged, and he came to learn about what had happened. He absolutely swore Rosebery must pay, but Rosebery was the prime minister, and nobody was going to support Queensberry in this, no matter how wrong they thought it was to bring down the prime minister, to attach this level of scandal. So this rage within Queensberry had kind of no way to vent itself, and it found its way out a while later, within a year maybe, when he learned about Oscar Wilde and his other gay son. As I said, Bosey was quite flamboyant. Anything he wanted, Oscar Wilde gave him. And they were hanging out in restaurants together, being quite flamboyant. I mean, Wilde was a flamboyant figure.
He was indeed.
There was at one in June 1894, he called it Wilde at 16 Teach Street without an appointment, and clarified his stance. I do not say that you are it, but you look it and you pose at it, which is just as bad. And if I catch you and my son again in any public restaurant, I will thrash you. To which Wilde responded, I don't know what the Queensberry rules are, but the Oscar Wilde rule is to shoot on sight. Bit near the knuckle, that. That was in Wilde's library at Tate Street. Wilde describes it as waving his small hands in the air in epileptic fury. Your father stood uttering every foul word his foul mind could think of, and screaming the loathsome threats he afterwards with such cunning carried out. So yeah, absolutely furious scenes.
Correct, Flow Snake, yeah. He borrowed that, by the way, Flow Snake, from one of the Bloomsbury chaps. Nothing new under the sun, by the way, anyone. Please remember that. Nothing is new under the sun. Nothing. Nothing at all. The only thing that is new is the next born child. Then they're exposed to this hell on earth, essentially.
Is that relating to the quote, not gay, just a man who sleeps with men?
Yeah. Yeah, Reagan actually said that. I'm sure it's from one of the, oh God, Larkin, I want to say Benjamin, it probably isn't. One of the other ones. Should. I do apologise. There's too much going on up in here. I've been reading a lot over these past couple of weeks.
Do you know, one of the things I'm most looking forward to going back to Wilde, not all of it, but the man had such a gift for one-liners. I mean,
He
he could
did,
say
yes.
something in 10 words that would be thoughtful, hilarious, clever, all three in one. It's just like a walking quotation book. What an absolute gift. So I'm trying to remember the sort of what happened with Wilde and Queensberry. I think wasn't there something about Wilde suing him first?
Hang on, I've got a video if you want to take a look at it. It's 45 minutes long, and it's absolutely amazing. Give me a minute. I can put it into the Discord. Give me a second. I need. It'll
45.
be.
We'll skip the slow parts. You bung it in our DMs or the Numpty Woman Discord. If you would, Katie and I both have Discords. If you're on Discord and you're not with us and you'd like to join us, reach out with a DM. I'm at Andrew Luke or Andy Luke on Discord. And Katie is Numpty Woman. Yeah, we'll absolutely hook you up.
Will I put it into your Discord or into mine's?
I've done it in yours, so that way everybody can find it. Yeah, because I think you've got more people in your Discord. Katie's Discord is close to 100 people. Mine's closer to 20, maybe. I'm not really bothered about working mine. Let's see. General chat. Where is it? Oh.
Kaz. Sorry, Kaz, my darling.
Okay. So we're going to line up this video with, it's called The Unhinged Trials of Oscar Wilde. It's by Kaz Rowe. So it's we'll put a link to it in the description after the chat. And as we said, it's in Katie's server. And we're gonna stream some of it and so pause for talk as we go through it. So let's see if we can share screen. There we go. So,
yay!
There we go.
Place in London that changed history. It was a case brought against the famously irate and aggressive Marquess of other than the very poet Oscar Wilde, well known and equally cartoonish forces. You see, it's probably not news to you for me to say that Oscar Wilde was a gay man. Everyone knows this, but it was this very trial that made him premier homosexual, the first case that truly established the public image of what a gay man looks like, acts like, and sounds like. Wilde was the very picture of what a stereotypical gay man became. effete, artistic, witty, and lavishly dressed, but also a threat to the heart of masculinity and safe heterosexual social bounds, because Wilde was in a dedicated and intimate relationship with none other than the Marquess of Queen's son, Lord Alfred Douglas, known popularly as Bosie. This relationship sent Queensberry into a rage, unleashing a string of aggressive attacks on Wilde, culminating in a note left for him that read, "To Oscar Wilde, posing as a sodomite." And instead of doing the smart thing and tearing the note up and moving on with his life, Wilde did the unthinkable. He took the Marquess to court, and within a few years, Oscar Wilde would be dead. In some ways, what happened to Oscar Wilde was a self-fulfilling prophecy of his own creation. After all, as a schoolboy, he had once quipped that he would like nothing more than to be the hero of a great cause, and to be forever known as a defendant in a case, Regina v. Wilde. It's a comedy of errors with a tragic end, hysterical at points, and breathtakingly sad at others. All at once, the result of bad legal counsel, Wilde's own hubris, and the inciting pressure of Bosie himself. This is why you shouldn't take legal advice from twinks. But really, how did things go so wrong? And how did this trial officially create the modern homosexual? Come learn with me. What do we make of Oscar Wilde after he was a legend? I think David Schultz puts it best in Redressing Oscar: Performance and the Trials of Oscar Wilde. Wilde was both a victim and a culprit in his own demise. In addition, while Wilde's homosexual activities were the chief focus of the trials, they were not the only aspects of his personality that made him anathema to the Victorian middle classes. In fact, during the course of the trials, Wilde symbolized a much broader spectrum of perceived decadence and degeneration that to late Victorians threatened cultural collapse as the century drew to a close. In short, Wilde functioned as a cultural lightning rod for an anxious fin de siècle England. His homosexuality was significant yet incidental, symptomatic rather than casual in relation to his crime. Before all that, though, Oscar Wilde was still incredibly interesting. He was born at 21 Westland Row in Dublin, Ireland, to Jane and William Wilde. Young Oscar was homeschooled early on and learned both German and French, and he quickly displayed what would become his most notable traits: his wit and his grand imagination. His impeccable academics, too, earned him a notable scholarship to Trinity College, Dublin, and then half scholarship at Oxford.
I want to just jump in there and pick up on Oscar Wilde's home life, which was ring. So his father was what's so funny?
No, I said just what Flo Snake put in. Yeah. Rather funny.
His father was a pioneering surgeon. He got a knighthood in Dublin Castle, and his mother, Jane Wilde, so she was a folklorist, poet, and essayist. She wrote under the name Speranza, which is Italian for hope. And in the Wilde home growing around, they brought round a lot of his mother's literary and political associates. So suffragettist Millicent Fawcett was a regular. There was an Irish magazine representing the Young Ireland Nation called The Nation, and they brought in a lot of the people that contributed to it. Now, remember, this was a time where Ireland was going through a cultural renaissance in preparation for independence. This was a time when it was full of great literary figures like George Bernard Shaw, who Wilde crossed paths with a number of times. So the people coming into Oscar Wilde's house as he was growing up were full of talk of libertarianism, of anarchism, of literature and the arts. It was must have been a really exciting household to grow up in.
Carry on, ignore me for a second.
The restream setup means I can't actually see you. So if you want to interrupt at any point, Katie, just yell out.
Okay. I'll be back in a second.
It was there
Carry
that
on,
he
I'll
became
be able to
involved
hear
in the
you.
aesthetic movement and the decadent movement, both favorites of any self-respecting homosexual. He set himself apart visually too, with his long princely hair and bright patterned clothes, and his affinity for maximalist, garish, and very kitsch decor. He held grand parties and became involved in the theater. By the 1880s, Wilde moved officially to London, where he enjoyed his burgeoning reputation as an aesthete and began his writing and lecturing career. It was here that he met Constance Lloyd, and in 1884, Wilde proposed, and the two were quickly married. As they made expensive renovations to their home to keep up with Wilde's image, the couple gave birth to 2 sons, Cyril and Vivian. After Vivian's birth, they could no longer afford more children, what with all the spending, and so the couple ceased their sexual relations. I feel really bad for Constance. She was really also a victim in all this. She was very innocent and very dedicated to Oscar through everything that happened. So
I'd completely forgotten that Oscar Wilde had children.
Yeah.
Bisexual, really? Yeah, the
Yeah.
homos don't get to claim them entirely. Bit of both.
it's just really tragic in every single pathway. And this was, of course, part of the reason why Wilde threw himself so intensely into the homosexual underground of London. And this was also the time that Wilde met Robert Ross, who was a particularly openly gay 17-year-old. Ross, an ardent fan who had recently been beaten for reading Wilde's poems, was intent on seducing the older poet, and he succeeded. Wilde's entry into gay life was secured, and consistently was informed by his experience as a gay man. And in 1892, Wilde's friend, Lionel Johnson, or maybe more than friend, I don't know, there's competing accounts, no one can agree, brought a new face to Wilde's home on Tite Street. Johnson's cousin, Lord Alfred Bruce Douglas, the son of the Marquess of Queensberry. Douglas, who was known as Bosie, would be the greatest fixation of Wilde's life. Bosie hailed from an extremely notable Scottish family, extending back in their title to, ironically, the reign of 2 different King Jameses of Scotland, one being the notorious gay king that I talked about in a previous video. King James I of Scotland awarded the 2nd Earl of Douglas's son the barony of Drumlanrig, and later on, King James VI and First, the gay one, appointed the Duke of Queensberry. So, hilariously, despite the Marquess of Queensberry's vitriol towards gay people, he owes his family's title to one. Bosie was the 3rd son born to his parents on October 22nd, 1870, and due to his charming good looks and feminine aura, he was consistently a favorite among other boys at school. The thing is, for a country so preoccupied with beating down homosexuality in the Victorian era and beyond, England sure did have an awful lot of rampant homosexuality in schools. Of course, a lot of this is due to the fact of the schools being homosocial, boys surrounded by other boys, raging hormones, etc. But the fact of the matter is, it was an open secret, and Bosie easily sank into his popularity at Oxford as Twinkatron 5000. As his schooling drew on and his circle of lovers, friends, and confidants grew, it's no wonder he was eventually introduced to Wilde. After all, this was the year Picture of Dorian Gray was published, and with it, Wilde's reputation as a writer had grown considerably. Both men had differing accounts of how this first encounter went. Bosie later wrote that it was the ordinary exchange of courtesies. Wilde was very agreeable and talked a great deal. I was very much impressed, and before I left, Wilde asked me to lunch club, and I accepted his invitation. A few days later, Wilde gave Bosie a signed copy of Dorian Gray, and Bosie claims that Wilde came on to him and he rejected him. But the relationship was destined to grow regardless of who was telling the truth, because Wilde claimed that it was love at first sight. And shortly thereafter, Bosie's brother Percy came to Wilde for help, begging him to assist Bosie with a blackmailer threatening to expose his relationship with another boy near, which of course he did. Wilde, despite his many flaws, was rarely one to turn down a friend in need. Of course, it helps if they're devilishly handsome. Within 6 months, the two were officially a pair. Bosie also insisted that although he was crazy about Wilde, he was never genuinely attracted to him because Wilde was apparently seriously uggo. But being with Wilde offered him an entry into an even more vibrant circle of gay life, and Bosie's poetry was greatly influenced by it. His most famous poem, written in 1892, is titled Two Loves. "What is thy name?" he said. "My name is Love." Then straight the first did turn himself to me, and cried, "He lieth, for his name is Shame. But I am Love, and I was wont to be alone in this fair garden till he came. Unasked by night, I am true Love, I fill the hearts of boy and girl." Then sighing said the other, "Have thy will, I am the Love that dare not speak its name." Although Bosie and Wilde remained firm partners, it seems their sexual relationship was fairly brief in the grand scheme of things. When things fizzled down to simply romance with Bosie, Wilde sought sexual fulfillment elsewhere, with Bosie's help, of course, and that usually ended up being in the arms of various rent boys, or male prostitutes, and other young men. The most important new connection being Alfred Taylor, whose entire business was being the guy who introduced rich gay gentlemen to young working men who would sleep with them for some cash. It's important to note that Wilde fell into this not just for sexual pleasure, but also from a sort of anthropological interest. He had an intellectual excitement from trying to actually get to know these young men and figure out what their motives were, how their lives had gone, picking their brains philosophically. He also genuinely enjoyed just kind of hanging with them, and the fact that he was taking them to dinner in plain view of polite society was all the more exciting. It was a thrill. Sadly, this game of his would be his ultimate downfall. In 1893, Bosie made the poor decision to leave Oxford and abandon his degree. His grades were shit, and he never did his homework, and rumors abounded that he had been penalized for the blackmail debacle. This, of course, pissed off his mom and dad, his dad, the Marquess of Queensberry, especially. And this guy was actually not hard to piss off. In fact, pretty much everything pissed him off, but at least this one was a little bit justified. Queensberry was commonly known as abusive and prone to rage, and Bosie's ongoing relationship with Wilde was beginning to set even worse. Wilde and Bosie were starting to have some pretty extreme and free fights, leading Wilde to write to Bosie's mother, asking her to get Bosie to find a goddamn job, or at least get his life together some other way. And she was like, yeah, fair point, and subsequently shipped Bosie off to Cairo, Egypt to stay with some friends. This was fortuitous timing because Bosie had just gotten himself into a rather horrible predicament. He had been introduced to a 16 boy by Robert Ross, who was still close friends with both Bosie and Wilde, and had subsequently slept with him. The boy's father went to the police, but dropped the charge on out of prison, and so Bosie went and bided his time in Egypt. Understandably, Queensberry became more paranoid. He also became significantly more abusive, writing numerous letters to Bosie, disowning him and claiming that he wants him to burn in hell. On June 30th, 1894, Queensberry...
Please remember, everyone, the Victorians are massive fucking hypocrites. Just like most politicians. Or people of the upper echelons, if you wish. Massive hypocrites. Yeah. Wouldn't you agree, Andy?
I can't see your cam because our cams are so small and the restream interface blocks it. I heard a bit of hoarseness there. Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, cool.
Appeared in Oscar Wilde's home and tormented him with a shouting match of all sorts of extreme expletives. Wilde said, "Lord Queensberry, do you seriously accuse your son and me of improper conduct?" To which he replied, "I don't say you are it, but you look it and you pose it, which is just as bad. In retaliation, Bosie sent a telegram to his father reading, "What a funny little man you are," which he must have known sent Queensberry spiraling
Pause
into
again.
uncontrollable rage. The Marquess replied,
Yep.
The Marquis of Queensberry is saying you look at getting damned by your looks. Do I look bisexual? Answers in chat.
Same goes to me. I've got absolutely no gaydar whatsoever. Well, okay, no, that's not true. But I'm really wonky gaydar. I'm one of those guys that keeps like getting smitten with lesbians and then having to have it explained to me they're lesbians because I'm completely freaking clueless. So I don't know what that says about me, apart from being clueless. About this sort of time, Oscar Wilde had written an essay that's less well known. I wonder is it in my book, but it's called "The Soul of Man Under Socialism." And Wilde was a massive, like with the family he's grown up in, very politically aware. His mother was a total activist, so he was a huge advocate for socialism. So it's a lesser known kind of fact. And I mean, jumping ahead a wee bit, by the time Wilde got out of prison, he was like a shadow of his former self. I can't remember if he lived, how long did he?
It's about 8 years, I believe. Give me a second. I'll go and check.
Yeah, 1900 he passed away. So, I mean, that's something to talk about after this video is like how Wilde would have felt about the Easter Rising and an independent Ireland. I don't know if he would have particularly wanted to be involved in the Easter Rising, but definitely would have an independent Ireland.
Oh, one of the unanswered questions there. Damn.
Good night, Flo Snake of the Gladiator Company.
Are you with Flo? Thank you, Flo Snake.
Yeah, I mean, the thing to remember is that the independence of Ulster didn't come about because of the Easter Rising. It was certainly an important thing. It came about because of the British reaction to the Easter Rising. So that's
how did that come about?
Really an important one. We'll go. I'm gonna play a bit more of this and see where it takes us. But it is like 45. We're 12 minutes into 45 minutes, and 45 minutes in Katie and Andy commentary time means a 3-hour stream. So there's a lovely Marxism. I assume it's lovely. A Marxism Today video called Poet, Playwright, Comrade, The Radical Politics of Oscar Wilde. And I see scanning the thumbnail, Slavoj Zizek is in it. So yeah, we'll get into that too. But
cool.
To share the unhinged trials of Oscar Wilde by this podcaster whose name is Kaz Rowe. Let's give it a thumbs up.
Okay. By the way, Andy, Kaz is a lesbian.
Oh, okay. She's also immaculately dressed. But thank you for pointing that out to me, Katie.
She always is.
Thank you for pointing out that to me before I become smitten by her. It's good. You can be my gaydar for now, Katie.
Oh no, I know.
If I
I
catch
know a
you
lesbian.
again, we'll make
I
a
can,
public scandal in a way you
hang
little
on.
dream of.
I know a lesbian. I can see a lesbian. Oddly enough, I can't see a gay man. I have hit on gay men
It's a bit of a
when I used to go out
stereotype.
clubbing and stuff.
It's a bit of
I
a
know a
stereotype
lesbian when I
to say
see one.
gays and lesbians are better dressed than the rest of us. But I don't think that's. I mean, I've seen straight heteros who
That's
are.
not necessarily. That's not necessarily true.
It's just true that I'm not well dressed, apart from this marvelous "Go Faster" striped T-shirt. I'm
Good
not a
luck
hoot.
trying to good luck trying to spot a bisexual because we wear everything. We can wear
Amorphous,
whatever we want.
amorphous creatures.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
Spiraling into an uncontrollable rage. The Marquess replied, "If I catch you again with that man, I will make a public scandal in a way you little dream of. It is already a suppressed one. I prefer an open one, and at any rate, I shall not be blamed for letting such a state of things go on."
Such a lovely father. I bet he couldn't fight. I bet he got smacked down a few times.
Maybe
Really
that's why he came up with. Maybe
horrible.
that's why he came up with the rules.
Yeah.
Well, he did let such a state of things go on for almost another year. All of the while, he set about having detectives follow Wilde and Bosie around, and even stalked them himself. Wilde and Bosie blatantly insisted on hanging around each other in public after all, and Bosie even threatened Queensberry in a rather ominous letter that read, "If OW was to prosecute you in the Central Criminal Court for libel, you would get 7 years penal servitude for your outrageous libels. Much as I detest you, I am anxious to avoid this for the sake of the family, but if you try to assault me, I shall defend myself with a loaded revolver, which I always carry, and if I shoot you or he shoots you, we shall be completely justified. And I think if you were dead, not many people would miss you." A significant issue was that Queensberry had cut Bosie off financially, so he was relying on his mother and Wilde for money. And because Wilde was intensely obsessed with Bosie, who was admittedly manipulative, he was spending lavish amounts of money caring for him and entertaining him. Money that Wilde should not have been spending, especially given the ever-quiet presence of his poor wife and 2 children. And what finally worsened Queensberry's temper beyond repair, had actually not to do with Bosie, but with the eldest Douglas brother, Francis Douglas, the Viscount Drumlanrig. For a long time, Queensberry had suspected his eldest son of being in a homosexual relationship with Lord Rosebery, Drumlanrig's boss, who was indeed a gay man. Queensberry had already attempted to assault Rosebery with a whip, and then Drumlanrig became engaged to a young woman, and while hunting with his soon-to-be brother-in-law Gerald Ellis, Drumlanrig was discovered behind a bush, dead from a shot through the mouth. The public generally agreed that it must have been suicide, although most historians argue back and forth and will never really know for sure what happened. Regardless, the incident fully destroyed Queensberry's last grip on sanity.
That's interesting that Drumlanrig wasn't alone when he took the bullet to the head, that there was somebody else. That does suggest the possibility of a genuine hunting accident. On the other flip side, if somebody was going to end themselves in that way, the presence of somebody else nearby, but like out of sight, would help conceal it, I guess. Oh, awkward, horrible to think about.
Yeah.
Whatever little there was. As Bosie biographer Douglas Murray writes, Queensberry wanted to make his son pay for his disobedience and revenge his late heir's death on the homosexual that he could most easily get at, Oscar Wilde. In his frustration at being ignored by his family, Queensberry decided to take his case to the public arena, and began his attempt to goad his son or Wilde into taking out a charge of libel against him. "This man," he wrote to Percy Douglas of Wilde, "is a cocksucker. He kicked off his actions against Wilde by buying a ticket to the premiere of The Importance of Being Earnest, one of Wilde's most successful plays. He arrived at the theater holding a frankly hysterical bouquet of phallic-looking vegetables, but because he had been yapping all around town about his plans, his ticket was cancelled beforehand, and they didn't let him in. Then he moved on to his fateful Plan B. He appeared at Albemarle, Wilde's club, and handed a card to the porter for Wilde, who got it 10 days later. It read, "For Oscar Wilde, posing as a sodomite." I think it's definitely an understatement to say that Wilde was fucking beside himself after receiving this card. Almost everyone in his life was telling him to just tear the damn thing up and move on. After all, the only other person who had seen it was that hotel porter, and that guy probably sees a lot of crazy shit, so he probably doesn't care. Not to mention, everyone and their uncle knew about the Marquess of Queensberry's violent and paranoid nature, so it's hard to really take him seriously. Nevertheless, Oscar was overcome with panic, and Bosie was ready to take advantage of that, insisting that Oscar take Queensberry to court for libel. Wilde, Bosie, and Robert Ross went as a group to the office of Travis Humphreys, a solicitor, who then filed to have Queensberry arrested on March 2nd. Then Humphreys got a hold of lawyer Edward Clark, who agreed to represent Wilde on the grounds that there is absolutely no truth to what Queensberry alleges. Wilde lied and said it was absolutely untrue.
I'm just interject quickly. I'm just remembering Travis Humphreys comes up a lot in the court cases of Rufus Isaacs.
Yes.
The matrimony scandal.
And then, in a move of insanity, Wilde and Bosie went and fucked off to the south of France for a vacation instead of preparing for the trial. Whether they were in denial or just extremely confident in the case, who's to say? But a crowd of Wilde's friends and loved ones spent the days leading up to the trial begging Wilde to drop it or just spend some time overseas. But the ever-frustrating Bosie interjected, "You're telling him to run away shows you are no friend of Oscar's. It is not friendly of you." And that was that. Wilde's editor, Frank Harris, desperately told him, "You don't realize what's going to happen to you. It's not going to be a matter of clever talk about your books. They are going to bring up a string of witnesses, and that will put art and literature out of the question."
Ooh, Frank Harris. Frank Harris was also associated with Horatio Bottomley. I think
Oh my
possibly
God.
wrote for John Bull, may have been his editor in one of the papers prior to John Bull. So quite, so this is the 1890s. So, quite, a tight-knit sort of London, political, legal, editorial, liberal elite society. Yeah.
But it was too late. S.I. Salamensky writes in Representing Oscar Wilde, Wilde's Trials, Gross Indecency, and Documentary Spectacle, friends' accounts depict Wilde as confused as to what the point of his suit was: to defend himself, his wife, and his sons from what could be ruinous rumors, to revenge himself on the irksome Marquess, thus securing his son's fickle affections, to stage another sold-out show, rendering the courtroom a theater. It is indeed unclear from Wilde's tactics whether he wishes to challenge the court's approval or flout its rule, challenge Queensberry's characterization of him, or prove its acceptability.
I'm wondering, that's a really interesting question. I'm wondering, was this like essentially Bosie pushing Wilde into suing his father just for the sake of settling old scores? Bosie seems to be a very sort of controlling figure, not particularly good influence on Wilde.
April 3rd, 1895, the trial began at Old Bailey. The lawyer representing Queensberry happened to be a man named Edward Carson, who was an old rival of Wilde's from Trinity College. Edward Clark began his attack by smartly trying to defang any effect that Wilde's writing, especially his letters to Bosie.
Oh, hold on. We have to pause here and look at what is going on with this legal official's hair. What's this, like, kind of beard sideburns? It's very unusual. What do you make of those, Katie? Hello? Oh, maybe Katie's gone for a wander. Edward Carson. Yeah, Edward Carson. There's a statue of Edward Carson right outside Stormont Parliament buildings in Belfast. Because of his championing of opposition to Home Rule for Ireland, Edward Carson attained the status of something of a hero to the Northern Irish Protestant loyalists. Unfortunately for them, Edward Carson didn't feel quite the same way. He described Orangemen's speeches as dusty and boring and like the unrolling of old Egyptian scrolls or mummies. Anyway, back to the
they
video.
have on his character, insisting to the court that they must remember that Oscar Wilde is no commercial writer. He's a poet and an aesthete, and so his floral language is not a representation of any immoral acts. So that was a good start, but then unfortunately Wilde took to the stand to be questioned by Carson. He started off in an extremely bewildering way by lying pretty much right off the bat, saying that he is 39 years old, which Carson caught instantly, asking, "I think that you are over 40, is that so?" "I don't think so. I think I am either 39 or 40. 40 my next birthday. If you have my certificate there, that settles the matter. You were born, I believe, upon the 16th of October, 1854. Yes, I have no intention of posing for a younger man at all. I tried to be correct in the date. That makes you over 40. Very well. So, great start. Carson then set in on grilling Wilde about the morality of both his own poems and stories, in particular, The Picture of Dorian Gray and The Poems of Bosie. He picked at every little detail that could be construed as queer or morally debatable. And the thing is, most of Wilde's works were either openly queer or queer-coded, so this really wasn't a hard task. But in his ever-drawling wit, Wilde managed to dance around every question and insinuation with jokes and philosophical quandaries, bringing the cross-examination out of the literal realm and into something more vague and difficult to put into black and white categories. It's a strategy he had planned ahead of time, viewing this as his greatest strength and also an opportunity to use the courtroom as a sort of theater of its own, a grand stage where Wilde, so confident that he could win, could play with these forces, trying to incriminate him as if they were characters in one of his books. But they weren't just characters, and this was not a stage, and Wilde had no idea that Carson was slowly leading him into a trap. A well-written book putting forth sodomitical views might be a good book. No work of art ever puts forward views of any kind. What? No work of art ever puts forward views. Views belong to people who are not artists. There are no views in a work of art. We will say a sodomitical novel might be a good book according to you. I don't know what you mean by a sodomitical novel, don't you? No. I will suggest to you Dorian Gray. Is that open to the interpretation of being a sodomitical book? Only to brutes. Only to the illiterate. Perhaps I should say brutes and the illiterate. Have you ever adored a young man, sometimes 21 years younger than yourself, madly? No, not madly, not madly. Well, adored him? I have loved one friend in my life. I prefer loved. That is higher. Adored, sir? And I say loved. That is greater. Never mind going higher. Keep down to the level of your own words. Keep your own words to yourself. Leave me to mine. Don't put words to me that I haven't said. Semantics, semantics. You can only get so far with that. The second day of the trial was where...
But it's nice that Edward Carson got pwned. He does seem like a massive dickhead.
where everything really came to a head. As the evening news reported the next morning, the Wilde case is sinking deeper and deeper into a foul morass where it becomes increasingly difficult to follow it. The fine verbal fencing of the first day has done little to relieve the horrible darkness of the succeeding passages of the trial, and even the Old Bailey recoiled with loathing from the long ordeal of terrible suggestion that occupied the whole of yesterday when the cross-examination left the artistic literary plane and entered the dim-lit, perfumed rooms where the poet of the beautiful joined the vassing grooms in the bond of the silver cigarette case. And when Oscar Wilde left the box, the little light that had relieved the awful somberness of the picture died out, as Mr. Carson went on to paint a horrid nocturne of terrible suggestions, a thing of blackness, only half defined, but wholly horrible. The proceedings that morning started off similar as before, with Carson poking and prodding Wilde about various young men he had known or associated with, and with every smug and witty answer that Wilde gave, he made every attempt to spin it into something implying his guilt, always trying to catch Wilde off guard. This led to even more extremely goofy exchanges. Now, after lunch at Café Julien, did you suggest to Fred Atkins to have his hair curled? No, I told him I thought it would be very unbecoming to him. He suggested it himself. At this, the audience broke into laughter. Then there was a conversation about having his hair curled? Yes. What did he say? He said he thought he would like his hair curled. I said I didn't think it would be at all becoming. You brought him out to dinner that evening? Certainly. And I believe you gave him an excellent dinner? I never do anything else. I give excellent dinners. And plenty of wine? That is the point, exactly. You must make out whatever gentleman dines with me, or guest, or whatever you call him. I suppose he is not stinted with the wine. If you ask me whether I ply people with wine, I say such a suggestion is monstrous, and I won't have it at all. More audience laughter. But although Wilde seemed to be holding his own well and with good temper, Carson had more than enough men to reference and even question him about, and even Oscar Wilde began to falter. The real turning point came when the grim onslaught of questioning finally caught Wilde off guard in his witticisms. Carson asked regarding a young man named Walter Granger. Did you ever kiss him? To which Wilde replied, "Oh dear, no, never in my life. He was a peculiarly plain boy. I thought him his appearance was so unfortunately, very ugly. I mean, I pitied him for it." You can imagine the air in the room must have gone cold at that moment, and Carson had found his attack opening. Very ugly. Do you mean that in support of your statement that you never kissed him? No, I don't. It is like asking me if I kissed a doorpost. It is childish. Didn't you give me as the reason that you never kissed him that he was too ugly? No. Why did you mention his ugliness? No, I said the question seemed to me like you're asking me whether I ever had him to dinner and kissed him. Seemed to me merely an intentional insult on your part, which I have been going through the whole of this morning. Because he was ugly? Why did you mention his ugliness? I have to ask these questions. I say it is ridiculous to imagine any such thing could possibly have occurred under any circumstances. Why did you mention his ugliness? For that reason. If you asked me if I had ever kissed a doorpost, I would say no, ridiculous. I shouldn't like to kiss a doorpost. Am I to be cross-examined on why I shouldn't like to kiss a doorpost? The questions are grotesque. Why did you mention the boy's ugliness? I mentioned it perhaps because you stung me by an insolent question. You make me irritable. Did you say the boy was ugly because I stung you by an insolent question? And Wilde finally cracked, plainly.
Not surprising, really. Carson seems like an absolute bully. Well, yeah, clearly from these transcripts, an absolute sectarian. And he had more in mind than just persecuting Wilde for his gayness. This was rampant homophobia, as much as one man could channel, and the worst kind is not fear, but violence. Katie, are you still with us? No, all quiet there. I'm just going to take a peek. If you're in chat, by the way, say hello. It's we're having a quieter night than usual. Um, oh, oh,
is cool. Pardon me, you sting me, insult me, and try to unnerve me in every way. At times one says things flippantly when one should speak more seriously. I admit that, I admit it. I cannot help it. That is what you are doing to me. You said it flippantly? You mentioned his ugliness flippantly. That is what you wish to convey now? Oh, don't say what I wish to convey. I have given you my answer. At this point, there was no longer anything that Wilde could do to save himself. The damage was done. His own wit, his joking about Granger being too ugly to kiss, revealing that there would be a situation where Wilde may indeed kiss another man who wasn't ugly, had damned his case. Reading the uncensored trial transcript published by Merlin Holland, it's very stark how Wilde shifts his tone right after this. Only halfway through the trial, he is suddenly witless, answers short and toneless. The pride and confidence there before is gone, as the defense presents wave after wave of hard evidence that Queensberry was, indeed, telling the truth. Oscar Wilde was posing as a sodomite. It no longer mattered if he really was one. Given the severity of the situation, Wilde's lawyer begged him to allow him to withdraw prosecution and consent to the charge of posing. And so, the trial ended and Queensberry was declared not guilty. But that was not the end of it. The Queensberry legal team had sent the statements from the witnesses to the Director of Public Prosecutions, and Scotland Yard produced an arrest warrant for Wilde. Magistrate John Bridge made an attempt to allow Wilde to escape England by refraining from signing the warrant until after the last train for Dover had departed. Unfortunately, Wilde had apparently fallen into what some called a pathetic state of indecision while discussing what to do with Bosie and Robert Ross. When he learned of the warrant, he simply sat down in a chair and drank until the police came for him. About 2 weeks later, Wilde in court once again, this time as the defendant. He had a grim sense of sobriety compared to before, as witness after witness after witness testified to him soliciting him for sexual acts. In one final act of defiance, Wilde made a lone speech defending queerness. The love that dare not speak its name in this century is such a great affection of an elder for a younger man as there was between David and Jonathan, such as Plato made the very basis of his philosophy, and such as you find in the sonnets of Michelangelo and Shakespeare. It is that deep spiritual affection that is pure as it is perfect. It dictates and pervades great works of those like Shakespeare and Michelangelo, and those 2 letters of mine, such as they are. It is in this century misunderstood, so much misunderstood that it be described as the love that dare not speak its name, and on account of it, I am placed where I am now. It is beautiful, it is fine, it is the noblest of affection. There is nothing unnatural about it. It is intellectual, and it repeatedly exists between an elder and a younger man, when the elder has the intellect, and the younger man has all the joy, hope, and glamour of life before him. That it should be so, the world does not understand. The world mocks at it, and sometimes puts one on the pillory for it. Sudden applause broke out in the audience, but it was no use. It was still a hung jury, and he was forced to appear for yet a 3rd trial. By this point, even Queensberry's lawyer Carson was asking for Wilde to be let off the hook. Many people urging the court that Wilde had suffered and been punished and humiliated enough. What really is the use of convicting him now? Isn't it too cruel? In most other cases, it would not have fallen on deaf ears. But some speculate that in the end, Wilde was convicted regardless because Lord Rosebery, who happened to be the Prime Minister by this time, was being blackmailed by Queensberry that his gay relationship with the late Lord Drumlanrig would be exposed if he didn't destroy Oscar Wilde. That, plus the fact that the judge in this case was kind of a mad freak who had prosecuted rapists and murderers, but for some reason called this case the most disturbing case of his career, and he simply could not have a man that disgusting walking free. Like, Okay. The Wilde trials are fascinating for a million reasons, but namely because within a short span of time, without most people even realizing it, the trial became less a libel suit and more a tool for Victorian England to try and purge itself of a greater social threat by making an example of a particularly famous pansy. David Schultz continues, "A great deal of the trial's cultural significance was molded by a sacrificial paradigm. Chief among the projects in any sacrifice is the creation of a proper victim, a scapegoat who embodies those characteristics the community wishes to expel, and whose sacrifice will effectively rid the culture of its crisis by destroying the socially repellent attitudes along with their embodiment."
Yeah, the sacrificing of Oscar Wilde to cover up shortcomings of those with great power and an inability to use it properly, to dump all the shame that they subconsciously feel for that and externally is sent to them, probably quite reasonably, to dump all that on a straw man, on somebody that they can bully. And sadly, that's still all too common in politics today.
Well, Wilde was summarily shipped off to prison, where he suffered for 2 years under hard labor. While doing his time, he wrote an extremely exposed letter to Bosie called De Profundis. After being released from prison, a now significantly less healthy Wilde refused to adjust his behavior. Everyone already knew he was gay, so what's the point now in pretending otherwise? Robert Ross, who had stayed by his side, did the same. Wilde spent his remaining years in Italy and France, living a mostly quiet and reflective existence, broke and depressed, but not fully disheartened.
He, as soon as he got out of prison, he left for France. He did not come back to England or Ireland, as far as I know. Just moved there and stayed there.
Passed away in a Parisian hotel in 1900. As for Bosie, he never emotionally recovered from what happened in court. The writer Rupert Croft Cook described him as being like a hurt boy. The eyes were brilliantly expressive, often merry, but sometimes pained and resentful. The features, which in boyhood were so delicately modeled, had grown pronounced, the nose formidable, the corners of the mouth turning down petulantly. His raging temper that he inherited from his father never abated, probably not helped by his firm desire to reinvent himself after Oscar Wilde. In 1902, 2 years after Wilde's death, he married Olive Custance and had one son. He got involved in politics, all in the midst of an unusual revival in Wilde's popularity. The decadent and controversial play Salome had recently been adapted to an opera, helping to breathe new life into a new, more liberal and sexually creative movement in the arts. Wilde was transitioning from his role as a polarizing, scorned, foppish poet to the new martyred figurehead of a dawning era. As Ross made sure to help usher in this new immortality for Wilde, Bosie drifted more and more conservative, angry, and religious, openly despising his gay past, causing him and Ross to get caught in several years-long rivalries that eventually became deeply hostile. Bosie took Ross to court for libel, only for the secret De Profundis letter to be shown during the trial, proving Bosie's relationship with Wilde. It's a nauseating and very sad, almost point-for-point mirror of the very trial that ended Wilde himself. Bosie obviously lost. He involved himself in yet more miserable court cases before dying in 1945, having finally made some peace with his history with Wilde. He wrote, "Many years after Wilde's death, and after I had become Catholic, I reacted violently against him. Converts are very apt to be censorious and to be more Catholic than Catholics. I hope I am now more charitable and broad-minded than I was. After swinging to two extremes in my estimate of Wilde, I have now got into what I believe to be a happy mean." The years following the Wilde trials, though, were terrifying ones for the gay community of Britain. For one thing, it set a frightening precedent. The courts now had standing to prosecute gay people with severe intensity, and police harassment of the same energy followed. It would take until 1967 for homosexuality to finally be decriminalized in England. But all through that time, things were changing drastically. Where gay men before the trials could easily sit in shadows and often be ignored, even at their most effeminate and obvious, afterwards the boundaries of what constituted safe and acceptable behavior, relationships, hobbies, art, and literature all became more and more constrained, and anything that could be thought of as remotely queer, that is, anything that seemed to be Wildean, was now suspect and threatening.
Yeah, very, very true, very scary and very shameful that homosexuals have been treated this way in Britain for so long until 1967. So a story I'll just say hello to a few people in chat. And Katie's been gone about 20 minutes, so she hasn't been a bit ill, so I've just told her to go and rest if you're feeling to come on. I guess that's what's happening. So maybe she'll be back, maybe she won't. We'll see. Person impersonator, wake up and smell the roses. Hello. Thanks for joining us tonight. So I have a friend, passed away now. Bob was his name, and he was a gay man, born in the 50s. So it would have been in the 1970s when he was in a gay relationship, and whatever happened, whether it was his partner or somebody else with a vendetta against him, reported him to the police. And actually, I think in Northern Ireland, the laws prohibiting homosexuality were a little different from England. Yeah. So in England, it was 1967 when homosexuality was decriminalised. In Northern Ireland, it was 1980. Doesn't that sound freakishly recent? So my friend Bob was arrested for being a homosexual. I think I remember him telling me he did prison time, but because of that, he was placed on a sexual offenders list. So a gay man with the same status as a paedophile. Now, you'll remember in the early 2000s, the first wave of pedo-geddon, pedophobia broke out. Huge press campaigns by the News of the World and the famous sort of witch hunt. It is a crime that does particularly turn people's stomachs. I don't think it's worse than murder, but it's often made out to be much worse. So you had all kinds of effed up nonsense in Britain of like pediatricians, food surgeons having their home windows smashed and all this sort of stuff. And there was a leak nearby me in Belfast of people on the sexual offenders lists. And one of them was my friend Bob. And I remember being around at his house when his bin had been set on fire, stones had gone through his window, and just sitting with him that night. Very by that time coming into his 60s, or in his 60s, old and afraid. Um, and all because of self-confessed moral guardians with their witch hunts and their bigotries around people with different lifestyles of their own. Yeah, so really, really sad, terrible, terrible stuff. So we are watching this video by Kazro. I'm going to put the link in chat. There's another 10 minutes to go on it. I don't know if everybody can see my YouTube chats, if it comes up on Katie's Twitch or on Katie's YouTube. Elron, I'm delighted to join you. I think I can see everybody's comments unless you're on Facebook or LinkedIn and you're commenting there. I don't know if everybody can see my comments, but they're somewhere in the ethosphere. So yes, I'm going to hit play again, and we'll go through the last 10 minutes of this documentary with a few pauses for stuff and things. Keep the comments coming. I absolutely love reading them. I love that you're out there interacting.
Oscar Wilde had now become the blueprint for what a homosexual is, and therefore, anyone who exists in the nebulous cloud around his traits is unacceptable and obviously gay. This is a twofold issue. For one thing, it narrowed the scope of what counts as correct masculinity. What makes someone a man is now inherently tied to sexuality because gay men are now stereotyped as being effete and foppish, with eccentric fashion and artistic tastes. Gay men were also now pathologized, especially by the emerging realm of sexology, as being a different gender altogether. Now for the subsequent result of this happening. Effeminate gay men who identify with Wilde obviously began to imitate him more and more, as Wilde became an icon and sort of saint for the queer artsy underground, creating a self-fulfilling cycle. And then gay men who don't identify with Wildean traits and present more straight-passing don't easily fall into these stereotypes, so where do they fit in? Well, they get their own classifications too. More and more, the world of gay men evolves in sight of its newfound visibility and villainization, and the people who find community in being scorned do what many marginalized communities often do. They start to adopt the names thrown at them by normal people, the hateful and terrified outsiders, as traits that they're proud of. We're here, we're queer, and Oscar Wilde gave us a direction. So rarely before, if ever, had this invisible, disparate group of people ever had a figurehead who was so unashamed of being gay after he had been crucified for it. In trying to destroy Oscar Wilde to neutralize the gay threat, the court at Old Bailey caused the threat to instead bloom under pressure. So this may seem completely off topic, but bear with me. Almost exactly a year ago, I was trying to fly home from my research trip to Europe, going from Paris to Dublin to Chicago. Landing in Dublin, we hit an intense storm, and the plane had to abort landing multiple times before safely touching down. Even though I was on the plane to try and make my connection, I literally sprinted what felt like a mile through the extremely poorly designed Dublin airport. I still missed my flight and was also not given a new ticket. I was stranded in Dublin for days before I managed to get on a new flight home. But while I was there, on an unintended addition to my trip, I realized that I could make the most of it and check out the birthplace of Oscar Wilde. And to my surprise, once I got there, a very funny statue of Oscar Wilde lay in repose on a boulder. Like, genuinely, it's in character, but also, like, damn, we get it, he was gay.
Well, I'm stuck in Dublin for today. My flight home yesterday, and then weather happened, and long story short, I couldn't get another flight until tomorrow. So here I am with my pal Oscar Wilde and his house over there. Trying to figure out what to do. It's Sunday, so not a lot's open. Maybe I'll just hang out with Oscar for a little while longer. I don't know.
Even funnier, they have a QR code that you can scan that brings up the voice of Oscar Wilde, practically lisping about his childhood in that home.
Behold me here, Oscar Fingal O'Flaherty Wills Wilde. An absurd assortment of names, I know. Splayed in effigy upon a rock, not a rotten tomato throw from the place of my birth. I might be a Prometheus in motley. All I lack is the eagle, which, when the gods tired of tormenting me, gave up nor flapped contemptuously. But no, I am not Prometheus, nor was meant to be. For what I brought to the undeserving masses was not light, but laughter. Was that my artistic mistake, to make them guffaw when I should have had them weeping for the woes of the world? Fun, unfortunately, was so much fun. If you turn your back to me, I did so many, at the close of my bright day, that fecundated on her plinth, you will see over there on the corner the fine house in which in 1854 I was born. I wonder if I should have stayed in Dublin. A flailing whale in a pond of minnows. Mustn't brag, however. The mighty dead are required to be modest. It makes us less intimidating. Also they. Oscar Wilde? Modest?
As I sat there listening to this audio and cackle, I had to admit that it probably is incredibly accurate, and maybe Wilde would have even approved of the statue. Ever the individualist, he probably would have loved this representation of himself in stark difference to basically every other statue of famed names in Dublin. He would have probably loved his infamy, the over-the-top caricaturization of his name and image. Last year as well, I saw a small local production of a queer take on the importance of being earnest, Wilde's play, and one heavily inspired by his quarrels with Bosie. I really felt like he may have loved that too if he were still around. Anything to keep his art alive, to evolve on it. And after I finished writing my script for this video, I remembered something else. She has a restaurant themed after Oscar Wilde. Obviously, I had to go check that out too. Oscar Wilde's name and art are forever omnipresent in the culture. By martyring him, the British court made him immortal. They created an infinite number of subsequent Oscar Wildes. By trying to make an example of the most famous, most identifiable homosexual, they bred a million of him forever after. Homophobia, as it is today, is ultimately the creation of the Oscar Wilde trial, and simultaneously threatened by it by bringing the queer community out of the shadows. True that in going into the libel trial, Wilde wanted to free himself of the ever-looming threat of his boyfriend's weird dad, but it was something much deeper too. As his grandson Merlin Holland writes, "If I could ask my grandfather a single question, it would have to be, why on earth did you do it? But there is no simple explanation for his conduct. Arrogance born of social and literary success, and the belief that he was in some way immune from the law, unquestionably played a part, as did a desire to please young Douglas. I am certain, too, that there was a perverse element of wanting to play out in court a theatrical piece whose prologue he felt he had written, but whose outcome was known only to the fates. The danger, as he later said of his demi-monde life, the danger was half the excitement. He truly fulfilled his childhood wish of entering a legendary court case of Regina v. Wilde, in defense of something ephemeral, something greater than just the law or just libel, which truthfully wasn't libel at all. Terrible as he was, the Marquess of Queensberry was never lying about Wilde being gay. His only crime was trying to weaponize it, and he correctly knew how to instigate both Wilde and his own son into their respective downfalls, which was honestly not that hard. Wilde made unbearably poor decisions pretty much every step of the way. It boggles the mind why he didn't take his friend's advice and ignore that card and go bide his time in France or something. But how could he turn down his own enormous ego and the whims of the temperamental man that he loved? Even so, years in prison didn't fully crush Wilde's spirit. I don't think anything really could. Although he was impulsive, prone to poor decisions, and admittedly a toxic hoe, he has his finger on the pulse, as usual, of the nature of a fight we're still today. In 1898, amidst his slowly failing health, he wrote in a letter, "Yes, I have no doubt we shall win, but the road is long and red with monstrous martyrdoms." Thank you for learning with me about the trials of Oscar Wilde. It truly was a wild one, but really, what it reminds me of is the fact that we have been here before many, many times. But there are things here that we can take inspiration from, and painful lessons we have to learn from. History, Nicole, but it doesn't have to be circular. So, don't forget to grab a copy of my graphic novel, Liberated: The Radical Art and Life of Claude Gahan, and until next time, wash thy hands, wear thy mask, and try to be earnest.
Oh, also a graphic novel. That was Kaz The Unhinged Trials of Oscar Wilde. As I said, I'll put a link to that in the description after we finish broadcasting. Ah, hello, Kitty. I was just about to text you. Hi, Natalia. Welcome. So we reached the part of the night called Andrew's Cigarette Break. I've written theme music for it. It goes, Andrew's cigarette break. It's a cigarette break for Andy. Andy goes to the window. Come with him now. He'll be on cam and he still do talk. And Andy's gonna have a cigarette. Katie's just resting. It's ill. She's ill. And I hope is not in front of the camera if she needs to be in bed. That's tonight only. Hopefully that extra bit. Katie, how are you doing? Just when the time is right there. Smoker though I am, I can't keep talking. And Katie can check in with us when she's ready to do so. But absolutely, Katie, if you need to go to bed and lie down, just give us a little wave and just go do it. So, yeah, well, obviously we'll see if Katie's well enough to check in. Oh, hi, Scribby, could you hear? I want to go on and look at a video about Wilde's politics. There was a question I posed earlier about what might have happened if Wilde supported the Easter Rising. So I mean, Wilde's career and his conflict with the English forces of Rosebery and Queensberry and Carson were all very much part of this sort of Anglo-Irish conflict. Sorry, before I go on and talk about that, because I've been streaming video, I've not been able to see the camera clearly. So can anybody tell me, has anybody been able to, can tell me if Katie's been on cam over the last half hour? I just assumed she'd left. If she's been in that chair, I'm going to give her a phone in that case, because I think she should be lying down. Yeah. Um, just came on but seemed to slide forward. Okay. Uh, yeah. Yeah, I'm a bit worried that she's just come back and is also like slouching forward so quickly. So I am gonna sort of go ahead and give her a call. So just because I'm worried. So I'm just gonna mute my mic. Let's see if I can talk to Katie. Katie, if you can hear me, go and lie down, honey.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Go and
Can
get
you-
your head rested in a place where it's comfortable to do so.
Oh, hang on. I've got someone calling me. Give me a second, please.
That's not me. That's probably someone else. Thank you.
Hello, darling. How are you?
Someone in stream.
And
Hmm. Yeah, so I mean, all against the backdrop of the Wilde trial was um, England or the Empire constantly sort of coming in and dominating Ireland. You had this great resurgence. You had George Bernard Shaw writing works. You had um, James Joyce, his early works. You had, if you look at the Easter Rising leaders, the weird thing about the Easter Rising leaders is they were kind of like a Justice League Ireland. You had James Connolly and Jim Larkin, who were prominent trade unionists. You had a couple of literary figures. I'm struggling to remember the names of them. There was Patrick Pearse, I think it was a literary figure. I'll bring that up, or if anybody in chat would like to prompt me. Hi Omaha, hi Orchestra, welcome back. Katie, are you okay?
yeah, I'm fine. Oh, hang on. It was Orchestra was calling me. I called her back, but she didn't answer. Darling, are you okay? Are you there? Oh, is it okay, Auntie? Oh, darling, thank you. No, I'm just a little bit sore and stiff and stuff, and dealing with it essentially.
Why not?
Yeah,
Why
I'm
not go
fine.
to
Thank you for
bed?
calling me.
Bring the tablet with it. Hang out. I will tie the stream off to a relatively satisfying conclusion of a little bit of length, and you can join us as an audience member.
Cool. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, so I mean, what you got in Easter Rising and coming up to the birth of the Irish Free State 20 years after Wilde's passing was like Ireland in a state of cultural renaissance where even at the time of Wilde's death, people were learning the Irish language en masse. There was a huge thing, and a vital difference between the south of Ireland and the north of Ireland. The north of Ireland doesn't have anywhere near the level of cultural history that, we're about 100 years behind the Republic of Ireland, even more. So that's
challenge us for that if you want.
my subtitle is Irish Legend. That was Katie's suggestion. I'm much more modest than that. Another remark from L. Ron Hubbard. Katie Lass, FSS. Go to bed, monkey smile. You're not awake at all.
No,
FFS.
I'm just. Yeah,
Sorry,
for fuck's sake, yeah.
Didn't Emily Thornbury there.
I can't wait till Tuesday. It's going to be epic. No, I'm not. I'm tired of it. I'm just more stiff than anything, and dealing with a lot of movement issues and some unbearable pain in my hips and my lower back. So, but other than that, I'm fine.
As the Andrew Luke loyalists know, Saturdays in this season are very long days for me. So it'll do me no harm to get off to bed early as well, or not early, like an appropriate time. So, we absolutely end this stream soon or soonish. Were you? Where did you get to? Did you go and rest for a bit, or everything okay behind the scenes? Katie?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Did you watch Kaz's documentary?
Say again, sorry?
Did you hear much of Kaz's, is it Kaz Rose commentary?
I did, yes. Yeah. I'm just a little bit stiff, that's all.
Yeah, Elron writes, at least lean back in the chair, slumped over a kiwi is not good for you. Absolutely, 100. Rock it like the bombs, Kitty.
Oh, God.
Falling asleep in your chair, it's not the worst thing unless it comes to the point where your body's in pain. So, yeah.
Oh,
generally, I don't like streamers who fall asleep, but because it's you, I make a special exception.
Oh, thanks.
You're
Oh no, I'm awake. I'm just a little bit stiff and a little bit sore. That's all. If anyone notices a right knee just lying about on the ground anywhere where you live, nab it and send it up to me, please. Oh, stupid.
I think I thought the comments, I don't know if you caught Kaz's comments at the end of the video about what the trials of Wilde meant for homosexual identity going forward and homophobia going forward.
Yeah.
Also yeah.
In some ways, that's due to Rosebery's, frankly, obsession. As far as I'm concerned, that man was obsessed. You had to blame someone for both of his sons. Yeah, Queensberry.
Yeah.
He probably saw this individual turned my boys gay. No.
Yeah. And looking over the court transcripts with Carson, Carson seems for the most part, 99% manifestation of that pure hatred,
Yeah, yeah.
cruelty. But that even Carson was saying, "No, just leave it at the end, just let it go
Leave
away."
it
Even
alone.
Carson was despairing.
Yeah.
Um,
A lot of people at the time, while this trial was going on, saying, "Don't just water it if you want." Uh,
I mean,
and they wouldn't have it.
it has a dual metaphor in terms of Irish culture and politics and the level of persecution the British put the Irish to. They could have easily dealt with the Easter Rising just by putting it down, letting it slide. But instead, they executed the leaders, and it was those executions that spawned a new revolution that eventually ended with the Republic of Ireland leaving the Empire of Britain. So I think Wilde is very much in the DNA of Ireland as rebels. Yeah, Katie, lean back. If
I'm just.
if you're just resting your eyes, do it with your head back.
It's not. Do you want to know some? Do you mind if we end? My joint pain and the stiffness is getting ahead of me. I need to relax. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a good stream nonetheless.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Go and get your head down, and perhaps for our audience as well, wouldn't hurt them to have some sleep too.
Yeah.
What is it you always
Thank
say at the end
you.
of the stream? Self-care is good care. Yep.
Stay hydrated. Self-care is good care. Take your meds if you need to take any. Stay based.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine, and revile most of the Victorians because most of them are massive fucking hypocrites.
Fuck the man. You don't have to give these things to him. Man wants to take them from us. You don't have to give them to him.
Yes. Thank you, Talia. Oh, thank you, my dear. Yes.
Marcus of Queensbury, an easy shot. Boom. Right in the kisser. Boom. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Boom, boom. Yeah.
Oh, don't worry.
It looked like I was punching you in the head there, which isn't the impression.
Oh, don't worry about it. No.
Check out Screen Cleaner if you've not already done it. Tonight's one is freaking awesome. Check out the Sunday Comics tomorrow at midday, where I review Douglas Noble's folk horror tales in like 12 minutes. Check out Katie's streams, which will be back 4 times a week, or maybe more.
I won't be doing tomorrow. I'm going to take the day off tomorrow. I'll be back on Monday night.
And come back brighter.
Yes. Because I went out, my body, for lack of a polite word, is fucked.
Quick shout out then to some of our friends and colleagues, the people on my Patreon, patreon.com/Andy. Look, the YouTube communities that Katie and I are part of. Turn Left, absolutely phenomenal. Kevin Logan, utterly hilarious. Helena at No Justice MPG, who's perhaps one of the finest political brains in the UK. Forget those twats on television. Helena knows to score. My Left Eye, just sheer entertainment, audience interaction, really vital voices. You were saying you love Lefty's voice earlier.
I do, yes. I do indeed, yeah. Praise be Lefty's voice. It is awesome. Bass Mancunian, as always. Yeah.
And lots of
And
other
always,
good stuff too.
yes.
Yeah.
I will be watching tomorrow in roughly 12 hours. I can't wait. It'll be good. Thank you so much, Andy. I do apologise.
That's
Being kind of checked out a bit. Like I said, my pain and stiffness is getting ahead of me at the minute. I do apologise, chat. I am.
Yeah. You've had a rough physical time of it this last month or two, so with a lot of
Yeah.
all the selection stuff ahead of you, just you've got to pace yourself, and I do too. We all do if we're trying to be activists. We don't want to activist burnout. It's
Thank
the
you,
worst.
Talia.
So yeah, lots of love to you people. Kisses from Andy. I'll also pass your love along to the Gerbils.
Thank you so much. Give them a pet for me.
Will do. Stay based. Free Palestine. No pass.
I will. No pasaran. Bye, everyone.